Hi, Vienna. Welcome to the Baddie and Me. I'm super excited to have you. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for inviting me. Super happy to be here.
I'm so excited because today you chose a very cute theme for that episode. Can you tell us what you chose?
I chose Tamagotchi. So I put on my Tamagotchi nails. You can see the little Tamagotchis here. So this is actually from like a nail artist who's based in Thailand, I think. She's called Tomatoes Nails. And I randomly like found her on Instagram and have been buying her press-ons like ever since.
So I don't have like any Tamagotchi clothes or whatever, but I have that dress, like computer dress from
Good.
Josephine Johnson. She's also known as Bastille on like as an artist.
Yeah.
And I added some cute stickers. Like I have this one here. These
Super
are
cute.
like nail stickers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I decided to put them on my body anyways.
Adorable. Adorable.
Why did you choose this theme?
Um, I mean, I think like for several reasons. Like obviously on the one hand, like it's adorable and I love cute things in general. Obviously for the nostalgic element as well. Maybe we'll get into this later, but Lan Party has just closed up our research and curation chapter in nostalgia, tech nostalgia specifically. So it's a topic that's been on my mind a lot in the past year and a half. And also because we're now moving into like our gaming arc, and obviously Tamagotchi is a miniature game. And I'm really interested in like these notions of like world building at the moment. And I think a Tamagotchi, both culturally and as a game, like has a lot to say about world building. So voila, why I chose Tamagotchi.
So before we get into Lan Party, can you maybe talk a bit about your background? Like, what did you study? How did you get into Web3? How did you end up on Forecaster?
Yeah, so my background is in art history. So did my studies in art history at undergrad and in art business for my master's. So I'm very much kind of like from the traditional art academic background, I suppose. But I was always interested in the intersections of art and something else. So in the beginning, that was fashion for me, art and fashion. But very quickly, I turned to art and technology, which is what my focus was when I was doing my master's. At that time when I was doing my master's, I was already looking into applications of the blockchain in the art market. In 2018, there was much of the talk around blockchain and the art world was around logistics and provenance. So NFT boom hadn't happened yet. Nobody was talking about that in the art world. It was really kind of practical in terms of like logistics and things like that. So then I did my master's and COVID happened right after my master's. And obviously that's when there was the NFT boom. And I was kind of still following on with like developments in the blockchain and art from a distance at that point. But then when the Beeple sale happened, obviously I was like, okay, well, here's like a very concrete application of the blockchain that has completely taken the art world by storm. And I want to look into it more. That's when I created my first Twitter account. In the beginning was NFT underscore dealer, and I went by NFT dealer for a long time. But when I was kind of logging into like crypto Twitter and like trying to follow like the artist and the collector in the sector, it was very growy. And I felt really kind of estranged from the world of NFTs in this first year. So I, you know, kind of again like distanced myself from it a little bit and then didn't come back to fully engage until a year afterwards. So that was in 2022. And that's when I started really getting into the NFT and Web3 scene. Obviously, Farcaster came a bit later. And yeah, I just realized that Farcaster was kind of like the perfect balance of like people with tons of different interests in the blockchain. So that's where I've been spending most of my time these days.
Yeah, and it's super interesting because I feel like as a girly who also comes from like the traditional art world, I feel like we have a bit the same like journey of discovering blockchain in like 2018, somewhere like that. And it just felt um very I don't know, not so concrete. Like how can you apply provenance and everything to physical artworks, right? I remember at the time there was like the big thing was something called Very's Art. I don't
Yeah.
know if you remember, and it was
Yeah.
like basically they were trying to maybe put QR codes on artworks and then like provide certificates of authenticity. And same like when I saw the Beeple use case, I was like, oh, okay. Now I understand like how everything, works better. And also like 2021, it was so like bro coded. I remember
Yeah.
like even in 22 when we started with Girls Revolution and we had that super, girly aesthetic. Oh my God, we got like harassed online. I remember it was so horrible. The space has changed so much, but I think
Yeah.
in a way for the better.
Yeah, no, definitely in terms of like culturally and what kind of peoples like we see in like the Web3 space today, like definitely like so much more diversified. And again, like one reason why I love Farcaster is because like there are so many interesting people that I've met. Like, um, we met a little bit before Farcaster, which was already great, and like it was already kind of like getting better at that point. But yeah, in terms of kind of like the people who are in the space today, it's very much more diversified, a lot more interesting, and a lot more welcoming, I think. Um, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think that we came from the fact that guys were like, if you're in the space, you have to contribute and you have to be a dev and you have to do all these technical things.
Mhm.
And now it's like there's more like lifestyle people, art people. I feel that's how it became. But so when you started in the space, what were you doing exactly? Like, were you collecting art? Were you creating some NFTs yourself?
Yeah, so initially NFT dealer was the idea behind it was that I would essentially onboard my artist friends into the crypto space. So I had tons of friends who were like painters or, they were doing drawings or illustrations, tons of different kinds of like more physical, traditional media. And I wanted to help them sell their work. So essentially came in with the intention of kind of being an art dealer for them and kind of like allowing them to give me their artworks or like scans of their artworks or whatever, even if it's like a digital collage, for example, mint them and then take a commission on their behalf. So very much like agent and like they don't have to worry about the technical things. I'll take care of that. That was the initial idea. That never happened. I never did that once. None of that came to fruition, which is totally fine. Um, but that was kind of the initial intention. But then, like then obviously I started collecting little by little. I've never had a lot of crypto, like I've never had like this generational wealth amount of like crypto. But like whenever like something was affordable for me and I liked it or I wanted to support a friend, I would collect a little bit. Um, and obviously kind of more um kind of on my work side of things, eventually we developed Lan Party and started curating online shows and like helping artists sell their work. But this was at this point from artists that I had met already in the Web3 space. So it wasn't so much like onboarding my friends, but just like through the connections I had made, kind of creating curated online shows for artists that I felt Benoit and I really wanted to support.
So your goal was always to kind of like help artists in the space to kind of like get visibility and make money out of their art, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely like one artist to like have more ways to make money for sure. But I mean, it's also kind of like, especially when, Land Party was created and we started doing these very targeted curated shows and like research-based shows. A lot of it was because we wanted to add a little bit more cultural and academic context behind the artworks on chain and give them a little bit more gravitas with what they were offering or saying or what that could mean for like the world at large. And I still think that this is something that needs to continue to be done in the space.
No, totally. I feel like at first, I'm not gonna lie, like at first, coming from the traditional art world as an artist, I was kind of fed up with the art world and the whole like system and how opaque it was and closed. And so when I came in the NFT space and I saw like all of these artists, some with no like academic background as well, sell their art to people. And I mean, some artists with like no prior like, let's say professional experience were selling art like for a lot of money. I was like, oh, that's cool because it's breaking a barrier. And I was so excited. But then eventually there was so much to offer that I felt like it was a bit sad because there was just all of these images or videos or whatever, but it lacked some context. And I feel like when you really enjoy the art, you kind of like want to learn more about the history, why the artist did that, and where it comes from. So I
Mhm.
think it's really cool what you're doing. But before we get like super much into Lan Party, so it's a duo, right? So you're doing that with Benoit. How did you meet and how did this idea, like, where did it come from?
Yeah, so we met also online through the Web3 space. Like now, obviously, we've seen each other in real life. It's been like 2.5 years that we've been doing Lan Party now, but essentially we're both freelance writing for Super Rare. At that time, Super Rare magazine was still in existence, and so we were both writing for them. Um, and we were reading each other's texts, and so we followed each other on like social media, and especially like on Instagram, where things are more visual, like more visual than like Twitter X. We realized that we actually have a lot of the same like vibes, so we were interested in very much the same kind of things. Like we were interested in like internet culture in general, but like more specifically like internet subcultures, in gaming, and obviously in digital art and like the Web3 space. So just because we realized that we had a lot of things in common, we started to like get along really well, and we're just like frequently like chatting online. And then ONBD approached Benoit to curate a show for them online on Super Rare. And at that point, Benoit reached out to me and he asked me if we wanted to do it together, if I wanted to join in and help him curate it. So I thought that was really sweet and like really kind of him. And I thought it would be fun. So we did our first exhibition, which was the crypto pawn shop. And after we did that exhibition, we were like, damn, that was really fun. We should do it again. And that's kind of how we started like formally working together as Lan Party.
Okay, so interesting because I mean, I think I've been following Benoit because probably I saw him post, he posts his articles on Lens and also on Farcaster. And then eventually I saw that you guys were probably working together and he happens to be French as well, living in
Yeah.
Japan, but whatever. I never met him, but I really like his vibe as well, like super cute and kawaii
Yeah.
as well. So I think you guys form a really nice duo. But I didn't know that you were writing for Super Rare
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah. So, I mean, they had like the magazine back in the day with like tons of different topics that they were covering about the NFT art market or like just like art in the crypto space in general. And they actually had like a submission page. So I literally just like found Super Rare magazine one day, like went into their submission page and like how to propose a article. And I literally went through like the very kind of basic process of like sending over a pitch. Vinny was the editor in chief at the time and great editor, like was so lovely. And I was writing articles for them about the art market, so really providing like data and like kind of my own conclusions about what I thought was happening in the NFT art market, where I thought it was going. So I did two pieces for them, so which wasn't like that much in hindsight, but it was a very kind of short period of time where I was doing this, but yeah, I think it like closed shortly afterwards, which was a shame because it was really fun doing that. But yeah, it was a good kind of like brief moment. And obviously the most important thing that came out of it was Land Party, actually.
Exactly. I was gonna say that you never know where you're gonna find new opportunities.
Yeah.
It's always important to kind of like try and open new doors because like that led you to like create I think a super important project today because like I've been following you on Farcaster and obviously the Land Party thing. I know that you guys were like building a website, and I mean it's really getting very much like concrete. So, first, what does Land Party mean?
So so Land Party, I guess I just to quickly introduce it. So Land Party is a curatorial and research project by myself and Benoit Palop. Um, we do online exhibitions, as I mentioned, but we also kind of write texts that are research based and usually in a particular theme. So, as I mentioned before, we were doing tech nostalgia for the past year and a half. Now we're going into gaming, world building, all of these kinds of aspects. Um, and the idea is really to kind of write a bit more critically or theoretically about digital art and internet culture. Lan Party is very simple. For those who don't know, a Lan Party is basically like a gathering where people come like from like the 90s and like early 2000s, where people would like come to like someone's house or like sometimes a big room with like actual computers. They would like bring over their computers and then they would like all connect them together and just play video games together. And like before, like obviously like MMOs and like massive online multiplayer games became the norm. This is how people would play video games together on computers. Um, I liked the name of Lan Party because, on the one hand, it kind of did tap into that nostalgic and also kind of gaming interest that Lan Party is all about. Um, but it also has the word party in it, which I thought was cool. So it kind of sounds like very much like at the same time like a celebration and a gathering of people or a gathering of ideas or what it is, but that kind of act of like bringing people together or ideas together to like make something happen and have fun, I think was really at the core of like why we wanted Land Party to be the name of our curatorial duo.
Okay, interesting. I learned something new. I didn't know. I thought it was like LAN, and I thought that each letter means something.
No, no, it's like Land Party is like the thing that people used to do like back in the day.
That's so cool. But so, okay, so you also make exhibitions, but also you write about like artists and how do people join? There's a hyper sub, so I saw that people can like subscribe. Do people have to subscribe to be sort of like part of the journey, or is it something that's open to everyone?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So, I mean, I guess there's like a few ways that we felt like we've like built kind of a small community around what we've been doing. Um, it actually first started, I mean, even just like in the exhibitions that we were doing, like the artists that we work with, we feel like they are like a close part of our community and like the Land Party network. So that's like one way that we get like artists involved. Another way that we get artists involved is like with our Hypersub and our Substack, we ask an artist to create a cover for us for each monthly edition. And this is like airdrop to the people who subscribe to our Hypersub. So it's really nice to kind of like get artists involved with our project that way as well. But we also, I think last year it was, we also did two events, kind of like community events. That was sponsored by Zora, which was really, really sweet of them. And we called them the curators dinners. So we basically invited like builders and collectors and artists and curators to a dinner, one in Paris, one in Tokyo, where Benoit is based. Um, and we basically just kind of brought these people together. And during the dinner, like obviously we're just there to hang out and like get to meet new people. But we also asked a question, which was, what does curating mean to you? More specifically in the context of Web3. So we like passed around little pieces of paper and like people wrote on them. And then we minted the responses as collectible cards on Zora. So that's like another way that we got like other people involved, was like by these community kind of activations, like in real life. And lastly, of course, there is the Hypersub and the Substack. Most of the posts do have a paywall, so you know people do have to like subscribe either through Hypersub or like with a paid subscription on Substack. But we are doing more and more free posts as well. So like that's something that's really important to me. I think is that like even though we do want the Substack and Hypersub to be a means of like earning a little bit more money from Lamb Party, because we don't earn anything from it really. You know, we don't earn that much other than through the Hypersub and Substack. So we do want that to be like a nice kind of stream of revenue for us, which is why we paywall. But you know, having things available for free is extremely important to me. Having information available and open and accessible is really important. So we're also definitely going to start like posting more free posts as well.
Yeah, but also I feel like I mean the hyper sub is not that expensive, so I feel like it's still very accessible.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like people finding like people need to know that there's a hyper sub. And again, there's just so many things online that sometimes it's like maybe you see it and then you forget. And hyper sub has been pretty buggy like lately.
Really?
I've had, yeah, I've had problems like subscribing or people subscribing to my thing. So, I just wanted to ask you, like, do you have more people subscribing via the Hypersub or the Substack? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, no, I do. Like that's a really good question because I feel like I'm like refreshing on the stats like every single day just to like analyze what's going on. Even though I'm a creative person, I actually really love stats as well. So I feel like I'm like refreshing that dashboard like so often. But essentially what's really interesting is that we have almost 200 subscribers on Substack, whereas we have maybe like I think we have 17 subscribers on Hypersub. The difference is that on Substack, pretty much all the subscribers are free subscribers. Um, I think there's three people who have become paid subscribers via Substack, whereas on Hypersub, pretty much everybody is a paid subscriber. So what's interesting is that even though like the distribution on Substack is obviously much, much wider because they have millions more users, they're a lot more established and kind of mainstream. Um, we actually make a lot more money via Hypersub with like our 15 to 17 subscribers versus Substack where we have 200 subscribers. So it's been interesting to like notice that difference.
Yeah, interesting. The thing I like about Hypersub is that you can choose to like pay for a month or like 6 months. And I think it's really cool, but I feel like they could maybe improve the UI and the user experience a bit more. So it would become a bit more like obvious. For example, I like that you also have the people can pay with their credit card, I think, to subscribe to Lan Party, which I think is really cool. But for example, when I tried to look for that option, I saw that actually I had to DM them and ask them to kind of verify me, which
Mm.
makes the process like so long. So I maybe should try and have a chat with them. But anyways, another thing is that I remember your dinners. Like I saw some pictures and I was like, how can I be part of that? I think it's so cool. Are you planning to do more? Because I feel like people love exclusive experiences. And it felt so cool to see like people even in Tokyo that I knew from online. I was like, oh my God, they're all together having that super cute dinner, like sponsored by Zora. Who doesn't want to be there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was really, really cool. It was really sweet. Like, um, I think like it was obviously like the reason why we could do this was because we did have that sponsorship from Zora. Like we really did want it to be like a nice experience where like yeah, like the food was paid for people, you know, like maybe you would just pay for like your alcohol or something. But we did want it to be something where like people, you know, didn't feel like they had to pay to be a part of it either. So after we did the curators dinners, we were thinking about other kind of in real life activations we wanted to do. At that time, you know, there was like on-chain summer and whatever, so we were looking into different streams of funding through like base or something like that. None of that ever came to fruition because I mean, in addition to Lan Party, we both like have like other jobs, right? So like it's really hard to like kind of organize a physical event whilst you also have like other full-time jobs, but like it's still something that's on our mind. It's still something we definitely want to do. So actually one of our goals is to have like an actual like in real life LAN party where like we just have like a bunch of computers and like people can just come and like play video games together. Like we would love to do that one day if we find a source of funding. But other than that, we're thinking of other ways just online to like connect with people as well. Like in the meantime, we just talked about maybe like to start streaming on Twitch or like other kind of streaming platforms. We've been thinking about like different ways to like involve people again, whether it's online or in real life. So it will happen one day. Another event will happen. When, not sure yet, but it's definitely on the table.
Yeah, I feel like a LAN party could be so cool. Like, you know how the boys club organize their parties at all these events and they're always like super much like internet coded and
Yeah.
very cute. Like you could have that maybe like once a year or something like that. But I guess obviously you need like some funding for that. But I feel like it would work so much to have a place with computers because it might attract like different types of audiences. And like, who knows, some people who are interested in gaming might start being more interested in arts.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And what I would love actually, like now that we're talking about this, that post of yours that kind of went like semi-viral where you're like sitting on the computer, like this is the vibe that I want for my LAN party. Like yes, like hardcore gamers can come, but also the girlies just being there like
totally. Well, this is so much like Vienna coded,
yeah,
like with the computer. And yeah, it went so viral. I was like, how did this picture go
I love it.
viral? So yeah, people like computers and games. But
Yeah.
actually, the computer was really working. Like there were several games. I was just pretending to play chess because like I just wanted to get the pictures
Yeah.
for online. But it was so cool. Like girls were playing games, and I don't know. I found it like quite interesting because usually when you go to a party, it's basically like alcohol, music, and dance. And now there was something a bit more like entertaining as well. So
Yeah.
no, definitely. I think you should probably think about that on the long run. But like, so you said that you organize exhibitions as well. Is there like an exhibition that you're working on or that you just like did recently that you can talk about?
Yeah. So we are working on an exhibition right now. It hasn't been announced yet, but I think this video will go out once it's live. So I think I could talk about it if it's going to be published afterwards. We are currently working on an exhibition with Feral File. So this is like an insane, crazy backstory about it. We've been working on this for a year and a half. So it's been a long time coming, and it's finally going to be launching beginning of June. So this kind of exhibition is kind of the end of our tech nostalgia arc, first one in our gaming arc. So like they're very connected in this exhibition, where we are exploring a concept of console spirituality. So basically, kind of how video games are used by artists to create alternative worlds where maybe the patriarchy or like hegemonic social structures don't exist or they're flipped on their head. So a lot of queer and trans artists might use video games to like explore different worlds or tapping into that nostalgia and kind of like this feeling of like mystique or magic or whatever you felt as a child like playing video games. Um we have an incredible roster of artists working on this show, which I'm like super proud of and super excited with. There's also going to be a talk in partnership with Rhizome, which I'm like super, super excited about as well. So, in many ways, it's like really leading up to be a great show. And just like, I've been looking through some of the work in progress of what the artists are making at the moment, and they're all like tackling this topic of like gaming and spirituality and like world building in many different ways. So yeah, we're still kind of like actively working on it right now. Like now is like a really go time because it's like opening in a month. But yeah, super excited about this one.
Is this going to be an online exhibition or is it like online and offline?
No, this one's just online. So it's gonna be on the Feral File platform, like most of all of their exhibitions are. And yeah, like I mentioned, there'll be like a little like talk for the launch of the exhibition as well with Rhizome. And and yeah, that's pretty much it. There'll be like a week of like a viewing room where people can like look over the artworks and then like the sale will open and then people can like mint and collect as one usually would on a
Mhm.
platform like Feral File. But yeah, Benoit and I are also interested in doing a physical show at some point for sure. Like it's also something we've been talking about for years, but it just hasn't
Yeah,
happened
I
yet.
think you should. Like, if you have like the funds and time, it would be so cool to also have like, as much as I love being online and seeing art online, I feel like like offline exhibition also brings something new. And I feel like for Lan Party and the kind of artists that you show, you could really create some sort of like experience.
Yeah.
And I was also very curious, like, how do you pick the artists for your exhibitions? Do you choose them yourself or do you have like open calls?
We've never done an open call. We've always reached out to artists that we think could be interested. The reason why is because like up until now, the exhibitions that we've been doing are very thematic, like very focused on a specific idea or theme. And that's because, it's usually based on some kind of research that we're doing. So for that reason, we usually already have like an idea in mind of artists who we think would be like perfect to like illustrate a research point or even kind of not even just illustrate it because I don't like having artworks or artist work just being used as like to prove a point, but like even just to like take the idea we have in mind and like run with it and explore something else or like expand it in a way that's interesting visually and like has something to say and like add to the ideas that we're thinking about. Um, that's one approach to like curation, which actually isn't my favorite, even though like we've been doing it again. Like when I have a lot to say about curation, but I feel like often when you curate thematically, you're almost kind of forcing artists into like a box of like what that theme is. So we try and we let our artists like work like super openly and like do what they want and like as long as it like makes sense for what we're researching and thinking about, like we're very happy with the results. So that's the reason why we've been like, yeah, essentially just kind of reaching out to the artists that we think could be a great fit for what we have in mind. But again, I'm also super interested in like alternative means of curation and like doing things a little bit experimentally or differently. So maybe in the future we'll think of like an alternative means of curating that doesn't involve just kind of like theme contact artists make the work. I would be curious to know and try a different method as well.
Hmm. But also talking about curation, something that I really enjoyed with your profile on Forecaster, like maybe over a year ago, was that I think there wasn't that many people who are really talking about art and things like that. And you were maybe like one of the only accounts, like really like writing a bit more deeper about that. And this is something that I really liked. And so I was also wondering because there are a couple of artists on Farcaster, at least like much more than like a year ago. Have you been able to discover new artists from Farcaster that you're maybe working with or collecting their art today?
Yeah, so I mean, Tiny is actually a big one, which is so crazy because like I know like you guys know each other from Lens, but like I'm not actually on Lens. So like my first kind of like point of contact with Tiny was Farcaster, which is crazy because like now we're like obviously close and like I made her website and like obviously helped her with like her collection launch that went super well and I felt like very involved with like this whole process of Tiny's launch and we met on Farcaster. And like the last artist that we kind of invited to do our cover for the April issue of Blog by Lan Party, our hypersub, was Enter, who I also met on Farcaster. There was Real Estate, who I also met on Farcaster, who did a cover for us. Like, there's actually so many artists that I met through Farcaster that I probably wouldn't have known of if I was just sticking to Twitter because like I've seen a lot of artists on Twitter, and it's just not possible to like know all of them. Whereas like on Farcaster, because you have channels, I feel like once you have like an interest in a topic where maybe another artist might also be interested in that topic, like pixel art, for example, then you can find like tons of new artists who are like interested in the same things that you are. And it's like, yeah, just a really great way to get to know other artists, I think.
Totally. And this is like one aspect that I really like about social fi because it's still very small niche, there's like Lens is also very small compared to X. There's not that many people and Farcaster. And as I always say, like it's crazy the friends that you can make on these platforms and the opportunities that come out of them. Because like yeah, I remember when Tiny was telling me that you were like working together on her website, which I love. I think her website is amazing. So good job.
Thank you.
And also like her collection, it was such a success. I mean, Tiny's story as an artist is so crazy. She came from like kind of like web 2 to Lens, created her super cute brand and started selling her art in her own terms because
Yeah.
I feel like Tiny has. I don't know, she knows what she wants, but she also knows how to attract the collectors that vibe with her art and that are ready to pay for her art. And
Yeah.
I think that's very important because in the space, it's very easy to start selling your art to almost free,
Hmm.
and then be stuck in that vicious circle
Yeah.
of selling your art for nothing when you spend a lot of time doing that.
Yeah.
So I was also curious, like, what is your point of view as a creator on, platforms like Zora and Rodeo, and which I think that are important to probably democratize art. And I mean, I love it as a collector. I'm like, wow, I can collect art that I love for like free.
Yeah.
And, but does it really benefit artists? I'm not sure.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think like like we were briefly talking about like the NFT boom in like 2021, whatever. We were both there. We saw it happen. I think like I think ever since things have not been good for artists. I'm honestly not happy with the way these platforms have ended up for artists. I think a lot of people who came into like the web3 art space and we relying on these platforms probably felt pretty betrayed. Like I felt betrayed as well, and don't get me wrong, like I think it's really fun to like collect on Rodeo or whatever, but that's not a viable art market. That's not a viable NFT art market. And the reality is that there is no good platform for digital art and NFTs these days. Like I don't see any one of them that are like working well for artists. I think like on the one hand, like I understand why these platforms like Zora and Rodeo slash Foundation, I know why they pivoted away from their existing models because the NFT boom from 2021, 2022 was not happening anymore. It was a bear market. They were not making money. And so they had to change strategies. We're probably never going to see an NFT market like that ever again. I'm like 90% sure of that. It's never going to happen. But instead of like pivoting to things like coins and like 30-cent mints, I'm wondering like why are we not like almost kind of going back to like what the point of like the blockchain and NFTs is. Like the whole like I think I've been thinking about this a lot recently and it's been really bothering me that like the whole point of like the blockchain and why we're here is because of decentralization, right? We, as you mentioned earlier, we were sick of like how the traditional art world was working. We felt like we couldn't get in, it's too close, it's too centralized, and Web3 was such a breath of fresh air from that. But if we're like relying on platforms in order to make money as artists, what's the difference? Like, what is the difference? Like, the whole point of decentralization is that we can take the tools into our own hands and do something with the technology ourselves. And we don't need to rely on a gallery or a platform or anybody else. We can just do it ourselves, which is why when Tiny did her recent collection sale and asked me to make it on her website, we used like the Manifold toolkit, but everything was like on her platform. Yes, we're relying a little bit on a third party with like
Hmm.
Manifold's widgets, but that was like the most that she could do in terms of like really taking it into her own hands and selling on her terms, as you mentioned. And I feel like that really is the main interesting thing about NFTs and the Web3 art world, not the way that like these platforms have been going
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what you're saying because it feels like platforms became the new intermediaries somehow. That also like don't give you a choice because as you say, like Zora, it's like if you want to post something there now, you have to coin it. Like it
Yeah.
becomes a coin immediately. You don't have any freedom in the choice of like the tools that you want to use or how you want your smart contract to be or whatever.
Hmm.
So I feel like I also don't get the point of like the news aura and why everything has to become a coin. Like that doesn't make any sense for me. It is funny. It can be interesting for some use cases, but
Yeah.
as an artist, I just don't get it. Like really, it's very weird for me.
Yeah.
But Manifold, I remember using it a couple of years ago, and I thought that was like kind of the best tool that there's on the market. So basically what you did with Tiny is that you kind of used the tools of Manifold on her website. Do they take a cut when an artwork is sold, or is it just like,
I don't actually know. I basically just like put it on her website, but like I admit I didn't really look into like if they take a fee. Maybe they do, like maybe a small one. I think it was Tiny that mostly looked into like how the manifold smart contracts work. I imagine they must have something where like they're
yeah.
taking a small cut or something. But
But yeah, I remember that when I used it, it was like their so what they offered was like the smart contract that you create is yours. Like
mhm,
it's not like, for example, I remember like when we were minting NFTs on OpenSea. So you would have like the same smart contract as other artists or
yeah,
something like that. So it wasn't like really yours at the end of the day. So it was kind of like more centralized. But I love that you did that because I feel like maybe that's where we should like go, and that's maybe someone has to I don't know, maybe Manifold has to create tools that are easier to use, because like not that many artists are using Manifold, because also people at the end of the day, they want something that's very easy to use, like for example like meme coins. It used to be something that was very hard to use, because if you weren't a developer or working with a dev, you couldn't like code your smart contract. But now it's like you tag a bot and like
yeah,
basically you can just like anyone can create a meme coin.
yeah.
I mean, it's the same for art, but maybe like we need tools to kind of make it more like decentralized and be more in control of like what we're doing for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting with Manifold because like they once Tiny's kind of collection webpage was published, one of the team members of Manifold like reached out to me to like have a conversation because there's not actually that many people using the widgets and toolkits like I did for Tiny's website. So they were really curious to know like how this came about, why I did it, and whatever. And I was surprised that people don't do it more often. But at the same time, I wish they would because the more that people start using these widgets on their own websites, the more they will develop it. Because one thing I ran into when I was kind of like integrating these widgets and like changing like the HTML and CSS and like just trying to make stuff work, I realized that a lot of the stuff were like not super up to date, or they only have like integrations for like I don't know, like Squarespace and like Wix, but I was using another platform for Tiny's website, so I had to like find a way to adapt it. And it would be so much easier if they just had everything like all listed out for all the website suppliers and like just plug and play, like clicking the code and that's done. Like artists can have it running, but it's not at that point yet because not enough people are using it. So I would love to see more artists like doing that, or like, I don't know, like contact me and ask me to do it for you. Like I would be happy to do that for artists, like, because I just genuinely want to see artists like taking the tools available to them on the blockchain into their own hands and like yeah, like just not relying on like other people to like get their work out there.
Totally, no, but I think what you're saying is super interesting. It's just that I think people, because you're in the system and you're doing things like everyone else. So probably you don't even think about the fact that, oh, I could like just get the, I don't know, the collection on my website. Because I mean, if you're just a solo artist, you probably need like a dev or whatever.
Yeah.
But tools like that exist, and no, it's very interesting. It just reminds me of like, I don't know, 1 or 2 years ago, and many artists were trying to have like their own collections on the website. I think there was like Shopify that was trying to create like maybe it was just working in the United States, but you could basically like create a shop or whatever, or gallery just using Shopify and sell your NFTs.
Mm.
So but it never became really concrete somehow. Like the things pivoted super fast
Yeah.
from selling NFTs that cost so much to selling like NFTs that are free.
Yeah.
It was like the two opposites.
Yeah.
So
Literally.
no, it's very interesting what you're saying. And so what is your, like, let's say your big goal with Lan Party?
Mm. My big goal with Lan Party. I feel like Benoit and I have like talked about so many different options. Mostly because like me and the way that my brain works, I'll become like obsessed with an idea for like 3 days to a week. And then I'll like change my mind and become obsessed with another idea.
Yeah.
But we've discussed a few things. I think in general, we will always continue researching, writing, and curating. Like that's the core of what we do. That's something that we always want to do. I think ideally we would be able to branch out into multiple activities with Lan Party, which would be to continue to curate both online and physical shows and actually be paid a curator's fee for that because that's actually like no one pays curators, but they should, you know? um, Feral File is actually probably the only online exhibition we've done so far where like we're actually being paid for curatorial work. So like big props to them because this needs to be like more common in general. So we'll continue doing curations for both online and physical exhibitions, continue writing the Substack. We would love to grow it and like have more subscribers via Hypersub or Substack and like have that become like a nice kind of monthly revenue coming in. Um, and we're kind of thinking about like other ways that we can kind of reach new audiences as well. As I mentioned, we might like start streaming in the near future because I had this idea to basically like reach out to like artists or like interesting people in the digital art space, invite them onto like a Twitch stream and like kind of do an interview like this, like just a casual chat, but like whilst playing their favorite video game together. So it's kind of very casual, fun, like we'll probably be like laughing or giggling about like whatever is happening in the video game, but like just a way to like take like critical thought and like research topics into like a more mainstream kind of distribution method. And like yeah, like the physical events, like potentially an actual Lan Party one day. Like there's tons of things that we want to do, but we kind of just want it to be like a general like hub for ideas on curating and digital art and like the internet.
Yeah, and I love your idea about the streams because I feel like it's so on brand as well, like the gaming online and everything. And I'm sure like people would join. If you start having like a solid community, maybe at first it's 10 people and
Yeah.
then 50 and 100. I'm sure people would be interested in doing
Yeah.
that because I feel like streaming is becoming a super important part of like the new internet. Like it used to, it is still like, I mean, it used to be very important, but I feel like in Web3, maybe apart from the people who are selling meme coins online, and
Yeah.
streaming, maybe, I don't know, we need like new experiences. And I'm sure like people would be super like interested in doing that because you've been streaming yourself. I saw on Forecaster you done like a couple of streams like of you playing games.
I did like, yeah, I did like one stream where I was like building my keyboard, which is here by the way. I love her. She's
It's so
adorable.
cute. I love it.
So I did like a stream where I was like building it.
Okay.
And yeah, that was like I guess my first test into streaming, just to like feel things out and if I would even like it, you know? And I liked it. So I'm gonna get like a full setup, like a webcam, like a light, like all the stuff that I need to like properly stream. And then yeah, maybe we'll do that soon.
So cool. I love that you're doing like so many different things. I mean, you do have like a job, but at the same time, you're very much invested in other things. And I find that like really cool because I think many people get so much like, I don't know if you can say that in English, but consumed by their daily job.
Yeah.
So then they don't have like the energy to do something else. And I feel that you're very passionate. So I was wondering if, do you, is it kind of your dream of one day, like maybe just being just 100% focused on Land Party?
Um, so like yes. I think like that would be like ideal. But I mean, again, like I feel like I'm always kind of like changing my mind about what I want. Like not to say that like one day like I don't want to do Lan Party anymore. I do. Like that's still very much my like is my passion project with Benoit, you know. But like for example, like for the past like 2 weeks, I've been obsessed with the idea of doing a PhD. So like, I feel like at the same time, I'm kind of like, I like to keep myself open to like different things, like different job opportunities. Like if that ever happens one day, like, and it's interesting for me, and I feel like it's where I want to go, sure. PhD, if I feel like that's where I want to go, sure. If Lan Party is like really kicking off and like, I have to go that way, sure. But I think the most important thing to me is that like I can continue to do the things that I think are important at the end of the day, which is when I come across an important idea, how to communicate that to as many people as I possibly can. And
Mhm.
whatever means I have to do that, whether through it's a full time job, whether it's through more studies, whether that's through Lan Party, like that's where I want to dedicate my attention to. Um, but yeah, but don't get me wrong, like to go back to like what you were saying, like having like a full time job and doing Lan Party is like insane. Like like it's
Yeah.
basically like having two jobs. Like it's really tiring. Your girl is burnt out.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine, and that's why I'm like, God damn, like she's really passionate, and no, I love that you're doing that, and I also love what you're saying. I feel like nowadays we also have more freedom in like doing different things. You don't necessarily have to do like one thing 100%. You can do different things and even like get paid from like different, I don't know, small jobs or big jobs.
Yeah.
So I think it's good for you. I mean, if you just keep the doors open, and sometimes it's better not to put too much pressure, on yourself, because sometimes people tend to put so much pressure on themselves that they start hating the thing that they were so
Yeah.
much passionate about, right?
Yeah. I'm very much that person who's kind of like, if you feel like you're chasing something too hard and it's not happening, like
Hmm.
you need to let it go. Like you need to forget about it, because I think one of the best pieces of advice someone has given me, because I've always been someone who was like, I'm going after what I want. I was like very ambitious until like maybe a year ago, actually, when I was kind of like, I'm done being ambitious. Like, I'm just going to like live my life how I want to now. But for a long time, I was like chasing after these things. But like when I was in my young 20s, one of the best pieces of advice someone gave me was, I've noticed that when you force something too much, like you don't get it, and then as soon as you forget about it, it just comes to you. And like at that time, being in my young 20s, I didn't believe him, because I was like, no, like you have to work hard and you have to like fight for what you want. And to a certain extent, yes, like that is true, you do have to put the work and effort in. But like if you're really forcing something and it's just not happening, like you need to let it go. Like it's not gonna help
This is so
anybody.
true. No, no, I think it's so true. I feel like it is important to be consistent if you want to. Of course, like people who don't do anything and are like, oh, I'd love to get that thing or that thing. And if you're not doing anything, you're not going to get it. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Consistency is very important. But I feel like sometimes there are things that are not meant for you, and the right things will come eventually.
yeah,
And it's when you least expect them. And
yeah,
then you're like, gosh, okay, cool. Like I've been working hard and being consistent. Now, like my work pays off.
yeah.
Like totally. I have like a few more questions for you that are very short. I want to ask you, like, what are your favorite woman-led projects in the space at the moment?
Mm,
It can be, I mean, it can be artists, curators, it can be like founders,
yeah.
influencers.
Yeah, that's a good question, because I feel like what's so interesting is that like in my tips, like a couple weeks ago, like my podcaster tips, like everybody I tipped just happened to be a woman. So I was like, this is amazing. Like I love that, like very naturally, like everyone that like I feel like I'm engaging the most with are women. But like I'm like blanking on like what like projects there are. I mean, I
It
think
is
obviously like I really enjoy Boys Club. Like I think like they're really funny. Like the girls from Boys Club, like now that they're on Farcross a little bit more, like getting to know them a bit has been really cool. Um, Obviously, like artists such as yourself and Tiny and Real Estate, who I've had the pleasure of like meeting in real life and just purely online, like has been one of my favorite experiences. Um, Shout out obviously to Pauline and Taco from Los Fomos, and of course my friend Car, who started up Fire Fits. Very proud of her for that.
I love her channel. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get her on the podcast because
Yeah.
I think she's so cool and she has a super, like, she's such a fashionista. And
Yeah.
I feel like she could dress up really cool on the
She's like the
podcast.
type of person I feel like sometimes she just dresses like so casually, but you know that like everything is like calculated and she just looks amazing, you know? Like she's very much that person, I feel. But yeah, all of these women, incredible, love them to pieces. Like I'm really happy that like I get to follow along with what they're doing. I just feel like so proud and like so like that's my girly. Like every time I see them do something.
Yeah, no, it's so incredible, all these women that we get to meet online and that are doing incredible things. And I feel like, as you say, like you were just tipping girls, and I feel it just comes naturally. Like it's not like we're trying to force it, but it's just like they're your internet friends and you love what they're doing and they love what you're doing. So it's just natural and it just makes everything more fun.
Yeah.
And obviously I wanted to ask, do you like fries?
I love fries. Are you kidding? Who doesn't love fries?
Some people don't, but yeah, most of the people that I asked, like most of the people love fries.
Have you ever had someone on this podcast say they don't like fries?
No, not on the podcast, but there are some people who are like, I have to tell you something, I don't like fries. But I don't know if they do they. I'm sure that if we would bring a plate of fries in front of them, they would like pick some.
Yeah,
Everyone picks some fries.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Fries are
Thank you
universal.
so much
Yeah,
for joining the podcast. It was just so amazing talking to you and also getting to know you a bit more because I think it's the first time we talked that long.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We're like always meeting up in like gallery openings and being like, "Hi, oh my God, how are you?" And like talk for like maybe 10 minutes max, and then it's just like tons of people. So yeah, thanks so much for inviting me. I also like had so much fun speaking with you as well. Yeah, really appreciate you.